Today, we'd like to talk a little bit about napkin drawings. Now, this might be a concept that you've heard before and you're familiar with, but let's talk a little bit about what it means to us here at SGX3. A napkin drawing comes from the idea that maybe you're sitting down with someone at lunch and you're sharing an idea with them that you have, something that's been kind of percolating in your mind, and you want to share that with them. Now, the idea might be complex or technical or not their domain expertise. So, we might use a napkin drawing to be able to tell them a little bit more about the idea to help them understand it effectively. If you're at a restaurant, you might just grab the napkin that's sitting there and you will draw out a little bit of what that idea looks like while you're talking to the person to help them understand it a little bit more deeply. So let's look at a quick example so you can see what it actually looks like in practice. And you'll have a better idea of what you might need to create as you move forward. So here's the first drawing that we'll look at as an example. You may have guessed that this is an original drawing of the telephone. So this was actually the first drawing that Alexander Graham Bell created of the telephone. The things that we want to make sure we focus on is effective communication. So in the image, we see that Alexander Graham Bell is focusing on the people who would be using this device. The device itself isn't a very technical drawing, it's actually pretty simple, but it gives us an idea of what this interaction with this product might look like. People are one of the most important parts of the napkin drawing, and we want to make sure that we have them squarely placed in the center of our napkin drawing to make it clear who it's for and why it matters. Effectively communicating your idea through visual and verbal communication is a really great way to make it clear to people what it is and what it does. However, we don't want to focus any emphasis on how it works at this point. You can see from the Alexander Graham Bell example that there isn't a focus on the technical merits of this invention. Not yet, not here. What we're really focusing on are the people that will be involved in the process, the people who will benefit from the thing that's being created. And this helps us to articulate the value to the user. So why would they want to care about this thing? Why was the telephone important to the people? And why did it become such a significant invention and ultimately appliance in our home? The napkin drawing also helps us articulate the components of the idea that are actually different and unique than what's already out there today. Napkin drawings helps us describe what is distinct and different about it from the products or the solutions that might already be available in the marketplace. We need to explain to our users what is distinctively different and why will it be better than what already exists as the solutions that they have available to them today. Something we want to keep an eye on as well is avoiding technical jargon. It can be really easy to use our language around our science or around our ideas or our industry, but that could really alienate others who are not familiar with that area. And you could run the risk of not effectively communicating your idea with them. So we want to make sure that we use language that is understood for all. Some say maybe the language that a sixth grader would understand is the right kind of level to ensure that all people you're talking to have a good understanding of what it is that you're describing to them. Let's look at two more examples to help us understand the napkin drawing a little bit more, and we can see application directly into areas like science gateways and cyber infrastructure. Open topography is another great example of a science gateway, and in this visual, we can easily see where the value is and who it is being brought to. If you start with the top of the image, you can see that open topography brings in data like LiDAR and GIS, and then enables an environment where people can actually visualize that data and stitch it together to create images that help them understand land topography in areas that they might be doing research or work. At the bottom, you can see once it's gone through its process of visualization, it is provided to education, researchers, and industry to provide data and insights. Another example that we can see here is Q Greenland. Q Greenland, like Open Topography, takes in data from repositories, enables people to have one place to use that data and process it together into visualization for their research. And then it's provided out to, again, educators, researchers, and potentially industry. These images don't give a deep explanation of each of their products or the back end technology of how they actually work. but what they do is show where the value is in the work that they're doing. When thinking about effective communication and using it as a way to describe to others ideas that we have or projects that we might be working on, we can utilize the napkin drawing as a way to do that. Earlier, I mentioned the idea of effective communication and sharing it with others at no matter what level of understanding they might have. This is an important component. When we start to use tools like napkin drawings and quick verbal communication to share with others our ideas, we then have the ability to create a conversation between us. So, in sharing our idea and focusing on things like who it's for, what it is, and why it matters to them, what's distinctively different about them, then the other person has the ability to receive that information, understand the basics of what you're talking about, and they can think about how it relates to them and ask questions based on that. This then starts a really great conversation between the two people. So when you think about yourself in a poster presentation or at a networking event or a mixer or even just a break during a conference and you're talking to other people and they're asking you about the work that you're doing, you can utilize these tools to start a conversation with them and effectively communicate what it is that you're doing. This can lead to greater collaboration, more opportunities in the future for further discussions, and the benefit of them being able to connect you with other folks that they might know that are in this research area or might be interested in what it is that you're working on. Effective communication is really a tool for you to be able to connect with others, connect your work with them, and find ways for you to be able to collaborate or work together. A napkin drawing doesn't have to be perfect. It also doesn't have to be hand drawn and on a napkin. You can utilize this tool in a PowerPoint presentation, on a whiteboard when you're in a room with folks and you have the opportunity to do that, or anywhere else where you might see fit. We most commonly see a napkin drawing, or at least a final version of it, used in presentations. This is a great opportunity to effectively share your information and communicate it quickly so that you can move through your presentation knowing that the audience is well connected with what it is that you're presenting and will have the ability to talk with you afterward, ask great questions, and hopefully lead to opportunities to work together.